Yes, my people, welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute. Today's video is on supply and demand zones. Now, supply and demand are concepts that are thrown around quite a lot um, by ICT traders. There's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of confusion, a lot of overcomplication when it comes to supply and demand. A lot of people call themselves supply and demand traders when in reality, they're just normal ICT traders but leverage the confluence. So today, gonna completely simplify supply and demand trading. This video is suitable for all levels. If you enjoy the video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. We're almost at 1,000 subs. There'll also be a link in the description to my personal trading community where I'll be offering one-to-one support for, I think 10 to 15 individuals. My trading strategies are pretty simple, and they'll have you making 3 to 5K per month sustainably. We're not out here trying to make millions off the markets. We're only out here trying to make a decent, respectable, reasonable, uh, sustainable income from the markets. That's our goal here. That's the focus of this channel. We're not selling no false dreams. So let's get into supply and demand. Supply zone is essentially an area where there are lots of sell orders accumulating, and they are on the charts. They look like the candles prior to a big sell-off. So let's say over here there's a big sell-off. We can see that a sell-off is essentially um, a big downward motion, so to speak, in the markets. So this here we'd say is a sell-off. The candles just before the sell-off, aka these candles over here, this region, would be considered a supply region, right? There's a lot of sell orders. This is a supply region. We've got another supply region here. So this is a sell-off over here. So you can say that this over here is a sell-off. The candles just before. Now, some people, some traders like to say that it's the one candle before the sell-off. But the thing is, the markets don't work that way. The markets work in ranges and probabilities and regions and areas. It's not one candle. I don't agree with that. So when we talk about supply and demand, we're talking about zones, we're talking about areas, we're talking about ranges of higher probability and lower probability. This is not fixed, this is not concrete, this is not binary, it is not black and white. It's all gray areas, it's all probabilities. It's just a matter of maximizing our probabilities to be profitable. So this is a supply zone, this is a supply zone. We can keep scrolling through the markets and finding other supply zones. So anywhere there's a big sell-off before that, that would be a supply zone. So we see here there's a big sell-off, which means a lot of sell orders were placed, and so the area just before that would be considered a supply zone. Right, so that's supply zones. What's the demand zone? It's the opposite. Lots of buy orders accumulate, and they are the candles prior to a significant rally. So let's look for a big rally. Let's say over here. So we've got, by the way, we're working on the 1 hour time frame. I don't agree with people that look at supply and demand on very small time frames. I use this as a larger time frame confluence to find areas of interest, and then I use that in conjunction with my strategies on lower time zones, which is the 1 minute, the 5 minute, or time frames. And then you can look at my other videos for the actual strategies I use. This is just a confluence I'd use in conjunction with my lower time frame strategies. But let's say here, we've got a big rally. And so we could say that this over here is a supply zone, is a demand zone. Excuse me. This is a demand zone. We could say that this is a demand zone. Okay, let's look again. Oh, okay. We see a massive rally over here, right? Which means that just before that, the candles just before that are our demand zone. And with that, I've showed you guys what supply zones and demand zones are. Again, it's not complicated. It really is this easy. If you see a big move up, a few candles before that, that is your demand zone. If you see a big move down, a few candles before that, That is your supply zone. Now I recommend you pause the video at this point and head to this link over here and read through this article. That is your homework for the video. This is the required reading for this video. Do not try to rush success. Do not try to rush yourself into being profitable. You have to treat this like a subject. The same way a lot of you maybe went to university or went to school and had subjects and exams, you can only pass the exam if you study. So, believe it or not, I know a lot of you guys hate reading, but sometimes you need to read. There is certain information that is best absorbed through reading. You can only get so much through videos. So I suggest that you read through this. Read through the whole thing. And believe me, you'll be surprised with how much clearer the rest of the video is. So pause, read through that, and come back. Now, once you've come back, so how do we use supply and demand zones in our trading? Well, there's two scenarios. If we're in a bullish market, then we're waiting for price to retrace into a demand zone, and that is a potential confluence to buy. If we're bullish, so we can see here, for example, on the 1 hour time frame over here, we're seeing that market is bullish. It's trending upwards. It's doing this. Wait, let me actually get rid of this. Let me get rid of this so I don't confuse you guys. And let me compress this just so everything is clear. So we can see that what is price action doing here? It's bullish, right? It's trending upwards. What does that mean? That means that I could use demand zones as a potential confluence for entries into buys. Rewatch what I just said and it will make more sense. So we're bullish, right? What does that mean? It means that demand zones would be areas of interest for buyers. So let's mark out all our demand zones here. We've got a demand zone here. We've got a demand zone here just before this rally. We've got a demand zone here just before this rally. Okay, how would these demand zones have come into play for our trades? Well, it's pretty clear, right? Price retraces into the demand zone before going higher. Retraces into the demand zone before going higher. Again, retraces before going higher. Again, retraces before going higher. I hope that makes sense. It is not complicated. Again, it is a game of probabilities and maximizing the chance of you winning your trade. This is a confluence. A confluence is a particular element or aspect of the charts that you could use to maximize your profitability, right? It is an element. It is not the whole setup. It is not the be-all or end-all. A confluence can play a part in improving your profitability, in increasing your confidence in a particular play. However, it may not be the be-all or end-all. So sometimes I will take a trade regardless of whether or not it is in line with supply and demand. This is just a confluence that I use. Okay, so that's an example of using the demand zones for buyers. Now, let's look at the opposite. Let's look at the opposite. We see here that the market is actually trending downwards. So it's bearish on the hourly in this region here. In this case, I'm using the opposite. I'm using supply zones. So let's mark out supply zones, which are the areas before a sell-off. So I've got a supply zone over here. Areas before a sell-off. I'm looking for a big sell-off and an area before that. Okay. There's another supply zone over here. Okay. Where else am I seeing a supply zone? I see a supply zone. You could say that all of this is a supply zone. Where else? A supply zone over here. Now again, similar concept to last time. What is price doing? It's coming down. It's almost tapping into the supply zone. Trending down again. Comes up. Trends down again. Now we actually break past this particular supply zone. And this is a perfect example of the fact that this is a confluence. It's not the be-all or end-all. Not every supply zone will be respected. So if this supply zone is disrespected, we'd simply remove it and look for a higher supply zone. This as well, disrespected. We delete it and look for a higher supply zone. What about this supply zone? Okay, price comes down. Let's get rid of this. So there was no trades up until this point. Price comes down, creates a supply zone. Price retraces into the supply zone before tanking. So this right here was a respected supply zone. I hope that makes sense. Some people call these order blocks, by the way. There's a lot. I'd say there's a lot of similarity and overlap between supply and demand zones and order blocks. And then there's also you've got fair value gaps. You've got break of structure, market structure shift. You've got all the other confluences, right? But this is the gist of what supply and demand trading is. Regions where there is an accumulation of sell orders and buy orders, whereby there is a high chance that price will retrace into that region, allowing for you to take a trade in a particular direction, right? So if we're in a bullish market, we'd wait for price to retrace into a demand zone, right? And this can be used as a confluence to buy. In a bearish market, we're waiting for price to retrace into a supply zone, and we're using that as a confluence to sell. And that's all for this video. So what is the required homework? Read through this link and then literally choose two pairs and find supply and demand zones on not in, on 2 weeks worth of chart data. So I want you to pick any two pairs, I picked US 30. You can pick any two pairs, and then don't use there's no need to use the backtest tool. Just scan through the charts and watch how price action reacts to the zones. Because this is a very broad, vague confluence. You don't need to use the backtest tool. This is not a setup. Trading purely off supply and demand zones is not, in my opinion, a reliable trading strategy. These should be used as a confluence in conjunction with other confluences, and you can watch my other videos for the exact strategies I use. That's it for today. Please like, subscribe, comment. If you need extra support with your trading and you are currently not profitable, or you have just become profitable and you're not yet confident, I'm taking on 10 to 15 people in my private community and literally holding their hand through the process of becoming profitable. I'm also putting together a set of videos of step by step, the concepts from ABC all the way through to my exact trading setup with all the confluences I use and me trading every day. So I'm putting that together now. The link will be in the description. Thank you guys for supporting my channel. Peace.